All right, friends. I'm excited to be here with you today. We're ready to start setting up our Raspberry Pi 4, and I'm using a Raspberry Pi 4 uh, with the 8 gigs of RAM and 32 gig SD card. I'm just going to be using the Noobs. I ordered a can of kit one off of Amazon. You don't have to get the 8 gig version. I think the 2 gig version should work fine. This was given to me as a gift, and so I'm very thankful for it. Okay, so um, do, do, do. All right, so you can see my mouse moving around on the screen. We've got two different options here. I'm going to go with the Raspberry Pi, the 32-bit operating system. I'm going to switch it over to the US and let's see if I have any more options. Nope. Okay, should be able to click, Wi-Fi. So I can select a Wi-Fi and it has my Wi-Fi down. And so I can go ahead and do that. Always exciting to me when things like that pop up that let me go in and set things up. So looks like that's all set to go. Ooh, now I've got some more options, right? Um, so here's a Raspberry Pi 32-bit, Pi Lite, which is pretty cool. A few other ones. One of the ones that they don't show here is an Ubuntu 64-bit operating system. And so the Pi 4 actually can support a 64-bit operating system, and I've dinked around a little bit with that. I think Raspbian also, or I guess it's now Raspberry Pi OS, they also have a 64-bit in there somewhere. Um, the OS full is what they recommend. The Raspberry Pi desktop, I think that's just got a fewer options. And then this Raspberry Pi OS Lite, this is command line only. So there are other options, and you can explore. You can also go if you've got a PC or something that you can support doing this with. You can go out into the internet and find um, other operating systems. But for today, what we're going to do is the Raspberry Pi full OS. And so I'm going to click install, and it says, hey, this is going to install the selected operating system. All existing data on the drive will be overwritten, including any operating systems that are already installed. This is normally kind of terrifying to me. And hopefully, when it says all existing data on the drive will be overwritten, hopefully for you that raises a few red flags. Now, why am I willing to proceed? I bought this specifically for me to play around with. And so I understand that these are two separate computers. I've got my personal desktop that I'm using for recording and stuff like this, and this is on a Raspberry Pi little box over here, and it's a separate operating system, and it's a separate hard drive, and nothing bad is going to happen if I do this. It's just it'll overwrite the SD card. Now, if things go sideways, I can work with somebody and use a different PC. Like I have a Windows desktop right here. I can use this to pop the SD card out of this and write a new operating system to it. So it's not as scary, but it is a little bit scary. Okay, so we'll click yes. And so now it's going through and it's going to work through this. So um, basically, when my understanding is when a Noobs kit comes in, it comes with the installer installed, and the installer also has access to a few other things, and it also can recognize when you've got access to the internet. It's like, hey, I could go and I could pull down more operating systems from the internet, and it's got ones that it has access to that it can pull down. So anyway, this is going to take a significant amount of time, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause the recording here until everything gets loaded up. All right, so we should be back, and what happens when this is done is it says the operating system successfully installed, and I'll just click OK. How long did that take? Well, it was long enough for me to go get a cup of coffee and start skimming through the first 10 or so pages of the book that we're going to be working on with you. So after I clicked OK, this happened. And so, like I said, the Pi 4 is nice because it is quicker. It's got a faster clock. It is a 64-bit capable processor. And this one does have 8 gigs of RAM, which does also make things run nicely. So anyway, this is how you know when you're finally making it to a very good start. So it's going to ask us to set up a few things, so we'll go ahead and we'll do that. 192.168 just lets me know that I'm on a local network, and that's good. We're going to change this to the United States, American English time zone. I'm going to change it to the Chicago time zone. I'll use the English language. So the Chicago time zone is, I'm here in the central U.S. I teach at Southwestern Oklahoma State University here in Weatherford, Oklahoma. Okay, so now it is time to set up my password, and it wants me to set one, so see if I can screw this up. And I'm going to be okay with just a little bit of black border. It doesn't, I think it works nicely. And so I set up the Wi-Fi for the installer. The Raspberry Pi 4 that I'm using does come with a Wi-Fi card, and it remembered the password, and so now I'm going through and I'm doing the updates. This is, if you've set up a Raspberry Pi 4 before, this is all pretty standard stuff. Or if you've set up a new operating system, this is pretty standard stuff. If you've never done this before, just know that if you ever have to do this again, this is pretty much what you'll be going through. But like I said, how long did it take to install the operating system when I had the video paused? Long enough to make a pot of coffee. Much needed, much appreciated pot of coffee. So I'm going to let this run through until we get to where it has the list of updates. Now this is going to vary with internet speed, with processor speed, and a few other things. They're Raspberry Pi 4s. They're not. Yeah, now it's downloading updates. So this is the part that can be quite lengthy depending on how old my version of the operating system is and how slow my internet is and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this here for now. Hey friends, so this is actually taking quite a long time. Several updates that I need, doing lots of other fun stuff. So if you're getting bored, one of the things you can always do is play around with your machine a little bit. So I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna try to show you something. We'll see if this works or not. I've got the Pi 4, and so I'm asking it to open up a terminal while it's also doing the updates. And so in the terminal, I'm gonna try htop, and the terminal brings up htop. and you can see how hard it is now working. So let's see if I can drag this up here. I'll drag this up here. I can drag this message down here. And so what you can see on the screen there is Core 3 is absolutely getting smoked, and once it gets warm, it shifts the load over to Core 1, and now to Core 2, and it just continues to work the cores as hard as it can. And then once the cores get maxed, then it moves it to other stuff, or moves it to other cores. And that's just kind of a heat management thing. So anyway, the command that I ran was htop, H-T-O-P, and it just kind of shows you, hey, the thing really is working its tail off. All right, so in order to close htop, I'm just going to do a Control and a C, and it closes that. And then to close the window, I'll just type exit. Okay, so it's still doing its thing, and it's been doing it so long. I actually started to skim ahead in the book, and I've been reading, and now I'm up to page 49, and so just kind of skimming, reading through the text. I'll go ahead and pause it, and I'll show you what the screen looks like after we get done installing updates. All right, friends. So what we see now on the screen is it says that our system is up to date. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK on that. And it says your Raspberry Pi is now set up and ready to go. So I'm going to click Restart it. And that'll put all of our new settings in place. All right. So what we saw in this video was how to reset, or how to set up our box, how to get all the software installed, or I'm sorry, the updates installed, I should say, and hopefully not terribly complicated, mostly just clicking through. One of the key steps I think was connecting the Wi-Fi. But other than that, a fairly straightforward process. If your process didn't go exactly like that, hopefully everything is okay. But my experience is this. One of two things happens. Either it goes and it's ridiculously uneventful, or something went wrong. So if something went wrong and you didn't, you're getting errors like memory card not found, or hard drive not found, or weird stuff like that. Maybe just pull the hard drive out, slide it back in. On these little boxes, it's just right here on the back, and you can, sometimes they're spring loaded and you push in on them. But anyway, hopefully getting to this point is completely uneventful. I've done nothing specific to a Raspberry Pi 4. I just went through the Noobs and got everything installed. So again, if you have any questions, email me at jeremy.evert@swosu.edu. Thank you all for your time. Have a wonderful day.